what we're going to talk about today, okay, are called independent and dependent variables. And I think that you've covered them in science already. Okay, I may be mistaken, but I think Mr. Kimball covers it towards the beginning of the year. Okay, maybe he changed it. Good. Because I told him I don't cover it till the third quarter. So, what we've started with is we've written equations, right? We've written equations that have one variable in them. And then we solved those equations. Okay? Now we're going to write equations that have two variables in them. What's a variable? Lydia. A letter that stands for a number. And sometimes we don't know what that number is, right? So right here, a variable, you're going to fill this in. A variable represents unknown quantities. Quantities are your numbers, okay? So the variable stands for some number, okay? But we're talking about two variables today. We are talking about your independent variable and your dependent variable, okay? And I do want you to note that your independent variable, that's your x, and your dependent variable, that's your y, okay? Now, think of that word independent. What's that mean to you? What's independent mean to you, Carly?
Means you can do it by yourself.
By yourself, right? You can do it by yourself. What else? What else does independent mean? Go ahead, Carly. Keep going, babe.
That you need help.
No, not independent. We're still independent. You don't need help.
Oh, independent. Oh.
Okay. Dependent. You need help,
yeah.
right? Okay. Dependent. You need help. What else? If I say you're an independent, what's that mean? Ada? Separate from everybody? Okay. That's like by itself.
Could you say like in different terms like isolated? Because you're like isolated there.
Well, you could. Okay. I'm going to think in terms of this. An independent is like your cause. And that makes your dependent your effect. Like a cause and effect relationship. You guys know what that is. Okay? Yeah.
And could it be a synonym and an antonym?
No, not opposites, okay? Yeah, look. I'm not there. Okay? Now, I want you to think about this. I'm going to take this in terms of your life. Okay? I'm using you as an example. Colin. Okay? Colin is a dependent. He depends on his parents, right? He depends on Darren to provide you food, right? He depends on Sandy to make sure he's got clean clothes, right? Okay? So Colin is like our dependent. He depends on his parents. Okay, so your dependent depends on the independent. The dependent is like your kid, and your independent is like your parent. Now, you might think, Goose Home, where are you going with this? Right? You don't know, do you? I know. Last hour we started with fashion and ended up on Fortnite, so it just, you never know. Okay? So, let's think about this. So, if Colin's dad, Darren, he's the independent, he's the parent, is he free to make his own choices?
Yeah.
Right, his choices can change, right? Can those choices directly affect Colin?
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Let's say Darren one time decides, oh, how can I do this a good one?
Make him run another mile.
Okay? Let's just say Darren decides, today at practice, Colin's going to run 3 laps around the diamond. Does that choice or that change directly affect Colin? Yeah, now Colin's mad. Okay? We've seen it. Okay? Let's say Sandy decides, I'm not making dinner tonight. Does that directly affect Colin?
No.
For sure, he's going to be hungry. Right? So your independent variable or your parent or your cause can change, right? Their decisions can change. And the result directly affects you. You're like the result. Okay? The cause of Sandy not making dinner, the result is Colin's hungry. And then he's grumpy. And then he's going to get grounded and sent to bed early, probably. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? Let's relate it to Fortnite a little bit. Oh, you Fortnite gurus. Okay? All right, so let's think about this. Nope, let's think about it. And forgive me, I don't know a lot about Fortnite. But your mama says on your next e-learning day, after you finish your e-learning module, okay, you got to do some chores for me. Okay? However many chores that you do, I'll give you V-Bucks for. Okay? So think about it. What depends on what? What depends on what here? Ty?
The amount of chores he does depends on how many V-Bucks he gets.
No. Because what changes here? Which one changes? What can change? Okay, let's talk about this. The number of chores and how many V-Bucks you get. Which one can change? Which one can affect the other one? How many chores you do is your independent. Because the amount of chores you do, the result would be how much money you get, right? How many V-Bucks you get. So, if you do more chores, what happens? More V-Bucks. If you do less chores, less V-Bucks. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so down here I've spent a lot of time on this. The blank variable causes change in the blank variable. So what variable changes the other variable? Ada? Right. Your independent changes your dependent. Okay? Your independent variable changes your dependent variable. Okay, and then we're going to move over to that first example. And it might look messy, but we're going to walk through it. Okay. Let me erase the board real quick. All right, listen up, guys. Let's read through this real quick, okay? Mrs. Johnson's class raised money for their class trip to King's Dominion. They sold brownies in order to raise funds. Each brownie sells for $1.50. And each box contains 20 brownies. Pay attention to this next sentence right here. The amount of money collected depends on how many brownies are sold. Okay? So, what depends on what here?
How many brownies they make is depend how much money. No, how much brownies they sell.
Miley?
How much money is collected depends on how many brownies are sold.
So how much total money we collect for our field trip, okay, that is solely dependent on how many brownies we sell, right? If we don't sell a lot of brownies, what happens to our money? It's lower, right? If we sell a lot of brownies, what happens to our money? Higher, okay? So look, they've already got your variables for you, and they don't always use X and Y, guys, okay? But the amount of money collected, is that our independent or our dependent? Dependent. Okay, it's like the result. This is your dependent variable. Okay? So that automatically, by default, makes the number of brownies sold your independent. Okay? And if this helps you, okay, your dependent, that's your Y, and your independent is your X, because that's going to be important when we start graphing it, okay? Now, another way that you can think of this, guys, is the amount of money collected depends on the number of brownies that we sell. Okay? Does that help? So whatever depends on what? Here's your, fill this in. Relationship between the variables. And I don't know why they put the number of, because it doesn't make sense. But we're going to say the number of, and I'm just going to say money, depends on what? Number of brownies, right? Brownies sold. It depends on the number of brownies sold. Okay? The total amount of money that we collect depends on how many brownies we sell. Now, those of you that did the e-learning module, doesn't this table look familiar?
Yep.
Okay. It's your in and out table, right? Input, output, also called your function table. Now, our independent variable tells us right here the number of brownies sold. Our variable is B. Okay, and it stands for the number of brownies. Our dependent variable, that's our M. And that stands for our money. Right? But if you remember from your in and out table, this is your input, this is your output, right? This is your X, this is your Y. Now, I gave you the inputs yesterday. They don't give you any here, right? You got to come up with your own. Listen, keep it simple. Don't try to use big numbers. There's no reason for it. Okay? So we're going to keep it simple, right? We're going to say 0, 1, 2, 3. Those are the numbers that we're going to input. 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Now, we're gonna fill in the outputs, and then we're gonna figure out what our rule is. Okay? So if the class sells 0 brownies, how much money do they make? $0.
Absolutely.
Okay? If they sell 1 brownie, how much money do they make?
Absolutely.
What?
$1.50.
$1.50. Okay, because look, right here, this sells for $1.50. If they sell 2 brownies, $3. Logan and Lexi, I need you to participate. Okay? If they sell 3 brownies, $4.50. Okay?
Mason.
Okay. Now, if you look at the little bubble below, it says equation. That's your rule. Okay, remember your rule from yesterday. On that CK12 activity, you had to figure out what the rule was. Now we have to figure out what our rule is. And we have to write it as an equation. Okay? Our equation is always going to equal our dependent variable. Okay? So we're going to say M, which stands for the amount of money that they collected, equals, we're going to have to use our independent variable, which is B, which B stands for the number of brownies, right?
Yeah.
What's our rule? How'd we go from here to here?
Times 150.
Times 150 each time, right? So you're going to take $1.50 times B. So here's your equation. The total amount of money collected equals $1.50 times the number of brownies that they sold. And you can check and see if it's right. Okay? If they sold 1 brownie, $1.50 times 1 is $1.50. 2 brownies, $1.50 times 2, $3. Make sense, guys? Okay, so let me stop this.